Barack Obama finally admits that his vice president was qualified to be president, and Chris Cuomo says he wants to get away from it all. I'm Scott Ott, and this episode of Right Angle is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. You can join them by going to BillWhittle.com and clicking that Become a Member link. I'm with Stephen Green and Bill Whittle. And gentlemen, normally I pick one topic or the other, but today you get both. It's a daily double. First of all, Barack Obama has finally endorsed Joe Biden for the presidency of the United States. Now, theoretically, when he initially selected Joe Biden as his vice presidential running mate, Stephen Green, you would think that that would constitute some confidence that the future president would have, that this guy would be able to step in should something happen to the president of the United States. But Steve, it seemed to take a while for him to come around to a public endorsement. What do you make of the fact that it's just now, when there are literally no other options, that Barack Obama has finally spoken up?
Well, I think you said it, didn't you? There were no other options. None. Out of this wide field of candidate, Barack Obama settled on the one that he thought was best suited for the job of president of the United States. You know, Barack Obama is so full of crap. When he selected Joe Biden for his running mate, you know what word he used to describe Joe Biden? The thing that he said, Obama said Joe Biden was going to bring to this ticket?
Gravitas?
Gravitas. Yes, that's the word. The Joe Biden that, I did a segment on Biden last week, and I was reading those quotes that he said word for word to you after showing you the video, just to make sure that you really got what he said. Gravitas, Joe Biden has never been in the same room with gravitas. Not once. In fact, if he had walked into a room with Ronald Reagan for some kind of meeting, the gravitas would have left Ronald Reagan's body forcibly and fled through the bulletproof window in the Oval Office.
Biden would have floated to the ceiling. Yeah, that's exactly right.
It is impossible for Joe Biden to be in the same room as gravitas. It's like putting two north ends of the magnets together. They're never going to quite meet. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. What was your question? I started talking about Joe, and now I'm thinking like Joe. I can't get out of this thing.
You did fine. And since I have another question for you, I'm going to move on to Bill on this one.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Bill Whittle, when Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden, it took him about 2 minutes to get around to it, and I thought that was a long wind-up and a slow pitch. But in this case, Barack Obama actually speaks for like 11 minutes and 57 seconds as he endorses Joe Biden, but most of it is a combination of praise for Bernie Sanders, as well as a call for the people to come together, all right-thinking people, of course, to come together. And he uses the COVID-19 crisis as his justification that we need more government rather than less, and describes a Biden administration as essentially being Obama 2.0 or Obama on steroids, essentially saying, Joe Biden is what I would have done if I were running for president now. That's the guy you're getting. Is that the guy we're getting, Bill?
Be like Biden on Metamucil is the Obama endorsement reminds me of? It reminds me of the kind of endorsement that you would get from Krusty the Clown. I heartily endorse this Democratic candidate or policy. That's basically what he said, Fill
in the blank.
It's like, I heartily endorse this Democratic Party or candidate, policy or candidate. If you really get right down to it, honestly, this to me is the single greatest weapon to use against Joe Biden in the campaign would be to say that the man who you served as vice president for 8 years was unwilling to endorse you at the beginning of the campaign, was unwilling to endorse you throughout the campaign, and was unwilling to endorse you until there was simply nobody left. Why do you think that Obama took so long to endorse you, Joe? It is, you would talk about damning with faint praise. I mean, really, it is astonishing. It's almost inconceivable, really, to think that nobody is bringing this up openly, like you thought that if you were good at it, you might want to have done it. And by the way, that says a lot about Obama too. I mean, it goes back to the narcissism of the guy. He didn't endorse Biden because he knows how bad Biden looks and didn't want to associate his name with it. So, Jan, it basically is where I am on this. But by the way, if you really do want to give Trump the election, there's nothing you can say better than to say this will be Barack Obama's third term. That's going to go a long way with all those people who had jobs until this virus hit, and who will have jobs again.
Okay, so this is topic number 2, and this one involves Chris Cuomo, not to be confused with his brother Andrew Cuomo, who's governor of New York. Chris is merely a talking head on CNN and came down with a case of the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus himself, and is in the process, has recovered. Apparently does a radio show in addition to his gig at CNN, and in some unguarded remarks on the radio show, he is quoted in the New York Post and also in The Hill as basically saying, he's rethinking everything. He's got, he's come to the end of himself and realized that he's wasting his time trying to get Democrats to say things they'll never say and trying to get Republicans to say things that are intelligent and talking about or analyzing a president that he said is full of stuff by design. And he gets into Steve, it's kind of weird. He basically says he's tired of doing what he's doing because when he gets criticism, he can't punch people in the mouth. And I want to read you this actual quote, and this is from thehill.com.
Who can do that legally?
Apparently, if you're not a celebrity, you're allowed to do this. I don't know because I've been a celebrity for so long. But he says, this is quoted in The Hill by way of this radio show. I want to be able to tell you, meaning the person who gives him a hard time, I want to be able to tell you to go to hell, to shut your mouth. I don't get that doing what I do for a living. Me being able to tell you to shut your mouth or I will do you the way guys do each other. I swear, I'm just reading. I'm sorry, if you couldn't hear that, he says, I will do you the way guys do each other. Steve,
so
what do you make of this, Johnny?
Well, I'm thinking this could go one of two directions. Either, I guess the polite version is turn your head and cough, and the less polite version is, did you spend any time in a Turkish prison? What's great is, so Cuomo has, I don't know, personal bathhouse reasons why he's unsatisfied at work. But when he was called on it, the next day, the Hollywood Reporter had a story up, and I found this on Twitter this morning. It says, Chris Cuomo is pissed at the New York Post and CBS News for writing up his comments yesterday about being unhappy with his job. Cuomo on Tuesday, the day after, told, I think this was a Hollywood Reporter, it's not true. I never said it. I never meant it. I love where I am. Okay, you get to choose one. Yeah. Did you not say it or did you not mean it? Is he supposed to be recovered from his COVID-19 infection?
I don't know if we ever get over that. I'm sure there's a PTSD thing that goes along with that as well.
Well, maybe there is, but I also saw a report late last week that apparently something like 40% of COVID-19 sufferers end up with some sort of mental issue of some kind as a result of the infection. And I got to wonder if Chris Cuomo has, I don't know, enough marbles anymore to be on CNN. And I mean, that puts you in Joe Biden IQ territory right there.
So, Bill, you've been somewhat in the public eye, although not perhaps exposed to countless dozens of people like the average CNN anchor would be. And you know that sometimes when you're not necessarily out in public, but, people on the internet feel like they can say anything, do anything because you're just some sort of public figure and they're allowed to abuse you at will. Can you get a little bit of what Chris Cuomo is feeling here now? It's not saying that the average person is allowed to go punching people in the nose, but he's basically saying even though he has strong feelings about something, he's got to protect the image of his company first. And so he can't really mouth off to a guy he referred to as some jackass loser, fat tire biker.
I think the only conclusion we can come to here is that Chris Cuomo is in fact corn pop, and that he is the one who, as a very small child, threatened Joe Biden with a chain and decided to go mano a mano. But turns out that I think it was Mark Twain who said, I wanted to get into a fight with this guy. I came out into the streets afterwards and I said, why don't two of you guys hold him down and one of you can hold me. No, I've never experienced that aspect of internet fame that Chris Cuomo has experienced. I've never felt the desire to, go find somebody who wrote something nasty about me and then, take a shower with the guy, not in a gay way or anything, but just get dressed up like Vikings and ride each other around the room, not in a homosexual way or any of that. No, I just mean it just as like men do.
The way men do. That's right.
Thank you,
the way men do each other is the quote.
Dom Herrera just nailed that just so beautifully. No, it's kind of a. I don't know what you would call what he's doing. It's kind of ruminations Alfredo, It's ruminations Alfredo, and it's strange little tidbits of Italian thought with extra virgin olive oil in there to lubricate things. And I just don't know where to start with this guy. But I do know that even if he hadn't been the son of Mario Cuomo and brother of Andrew Cuomo, he would certainly have his CNN position out of sheer raw talent. You really have to go back to Vanilla Ice to find as much of a gap between ability and exposure when it comes to our buddy Corn Pop there.
I would not be surprised to learn that Chris Cuomo is actually lip syncing his entire show. That could quite possibly be happening. Rarely has an episode of Right Angle drawn together the profound remarks of people this shallow into one episode. But it just seems like when I saw Barack Obama's face on that video, and he's looking rough, by the way. He suddenly, and I hadn't seen him for a while, I guess, and I've just seen file images of him, but he's old now, and he's not old in years. He's just old. He just looks old. It did strike me as odd to see this very sincere delivery of a former president of the United States who just now is coming out and saying, Joe Biden could be president of the United States, and in fact, I would choose him to be the president of the United States, when that was really the whole vetting process when he initially picked Joe Biden. It was, who can we find in the entire country who could be president of the United States? He picked that guy, served with him for 8 years, and now he had to fiddle around and play footsie with him for a long time because he doesn't want to offend Kamala Harris, who, by the way, used to be one of the most beautiful prosecuting attorneys in the country. But, what was holding him back? Which of these candidates did he have an obligation to deeper than the one he had to the guy who served alongside of him in the White House?
Any of them.
Pretty much anybody, I guess. Yes. So, that's just struck me as kind of a vacuous moment there. The sort of the most climactic anticlimax in the history of presidential politics. And then to hear Chris Cuomo, I actually have a little bit of empathy for Chris Cuomo because I think one of the more accurate things he said here is, and this is a quote again from Chris Cuomo, which I'm sure he can back away from and say he never said and he didn't mean. I don't think it's worth it to me, meaning this whole career. I don't think it's worth it to me because I don't think I mean enough. I don't think I matter enough. I don't think I can really change anything. So then what am I really doing? And I think, if anything, that should be on his tombstone. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.